Super Mario RPG 2 on the Nintendo Switch 2 is so much more likely now at this point. After nearly 30 years, we are going to maybe get a sequel for it, and I have a litany of reasons why this is happening. First and foremost, let's talk about Super Mario RPG. This game was a Super Nintendo game that was released at the end of the Super Nintendo's life back in the mid to late 90s, and it was a very interesting game because it took some pretty cool graphical effects that you didn't really see on the Super Nintendo at the beginning, and kind of put it into its own thing and made it its own unique style and flavor and flair when it comes to the music, when it comes to the visuals, when it comes to everything about this game, the level design. It was just such a very different game than anything that we've ever seen on the Super Nintendo at the time. And I remember beating the game over and over and over and trying to find every single little secret and max out all my stat points and damage and flower points and stuff. It was just a game that I consistently played back in the day, and I love it. So of course, when I saw the trailer that was revealed at the Nintendo Direct, I lost it. Oh, let's go! This is my RPG, let's go! It's back! Let's go! Full remake, baby! I thought it was just an incredible trailer. The music was just so on point. It was exactly how I envisioned in my head that we would get a Super Mario RPG remake, because I love the Super Nintendo era. I love the RPGs from that era, and seeing one of my childhood favorites back then kind of come back in this light, man, it was just a dream come true. So obviously Super Mario RPG is a very beloved game, and that showed up in many different ways when they finally brought it back in 2023. Now let's talk about how this game is going to come back with a new game, Square Enix and Nintendo's relationship, and the recent comments from Mr. Hamaguchi, who does do the Final Fantasy and other projects that he has not revealed yet at this point. And I think that Super Mario RPG 2 could potentially be one of those projects. He has stated that Nintendo and Square Enix have a very strong relationship. Now, back in the 90s, in the Super Nintendo days, that was the last time that Nintendo and Square Enix had a very strong relationship, where you saw consistent releases of their big mainline games on the Super Nintendo platform, whether it was Secret of Evermore, Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest, whatever the case was. Back in the early 90s, before PlayStation took over overall because Nintendo made the decision to go with cartridges, Super Nintendo, Square Enix, and Nintendo were like two peas in a pod, man. Like, you could not separate them, and it was one of the things that you could rely on, that you would get incredible support from Square Enix on the Super Nintendo. Now, things aren't quite the same overall as they were back then. A lot has changed when it comes to Nintendo, their management, obviously the systems. Square Enix has changed, but I think that if you look at the demographics, if you look at what's happening in Japan, I said this over and over, Square Enix knows, and they have adjusted. They've done enough internal when it comes to looking at everything, and they know that they're going to need the Nintendo Switch 2 going forward overall, especially with that Japanese base based off of the sales numbers that we are seeing. So those comments of a very strong relationship, in addition to unannounced games that we do not know about, and when you combine that with the rest of the stuff that I'm about to talk about, I'm telling you, man, this is going to happen, in my opinion at least. Now, Nintendo did release 3 separate Mario RPGs in a 1-year time span, and I personally feel that that was intentional, and it was a litmus test. It was, in my opinion, Nintendo gauging what is the area, what is the way that we should actually go with the Mario RPG franchise. I think that keeping up Paper Mario, also Mario and Luigi, in addition to Super Mario RPG, all at the same time, all getting games at a regular pace. I mean, back in the day, it was a bit easier when game development wasn't anywhere near as expensive and the team sizes could be smaller for Mario and Luigi with Alpha Dream and all of that. But I think in today's day, with the graphics and the HD and all the different types of stuff that they have, I think that they really want to focus in on what they can do going forward. So I do believe that releasing all of those games and seeing what game potentially did best is a factor into where they might invest next. And that's not saying that we'll never see another Paper Mario, because they're obviously different development studios. The development studio that made the newest Mario and Luigi compared to the development studio that made Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door remake, and of course the development studio that made Super Mario RPG, all different. So those can all continue, but I do think that they're looking at all of those and seeing what gamers want the most. And if you look at it in that type of way, Super Mario RPG was by far the winner. Now, based off the sales numbers that we do have, these are a little bit outdated because Nintendo has not given updated numbers, but so far Mario and Luigi sold 1 million plus units. I think it's nearing 2 million. Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door sold around 2 million or so, it's nearing that. But Super Mario RPG has sold over 3 million in the first number of months when it was out. Now, it did have the benefit of launching in the holiday, but so did the new Mario and Luigi game. So I think that with those sales numbers of over 3 million in that time period for the reporting, I think Nintendo and Square Enix have both seen that that's what people want in terms of the popularity wise between those three styles of Mario RPG. Now, don't get me wrong, if there was a brand new Paper Mario game that was like Thousand Year Door on the Nintendo Switch 2, announced at a Nintendo Direct, and it bumped it up to 60 FPS and it looked incredible, I'm pretty sure that would sell really well too, and it would be really good. But I do think that if you look at the three games, there was just the nostalgia push from the Super Nintendo fans, the fact that we hadn't had it come back in a while, and I think that it was 60 FPS. I'm not sure if that was a big factor in terms of what was selling more, but I think that people were just so hyped to see a classic Super Nintendo game being brought back in that type of way without any compromises and better in every regard overall. Whereas with Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, it was 30 FPS instead of 60, and with the new Mario and Luigi game, there was just some issues in terms of pacing, frame rate, and other stuff as well. So I think that out of all of them, yes, Super Mario RPG did have some frame rate stuff on Switch 1, but on Switch 2 it plays a lot cleaner overall. But yeah, I think that all of that just factored into Super Mario RPG just really exploding in the sales overall to where it did do well over 3 million units plus, and we don't know where those updated numbers are. So I think that will be a factor when it comes down to it. And if you look at RPG collaborations on a smaller scale or AA scale, which is where this would be, Square Enix and Nintendo have been cranking these ones out. Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, and Live Alive, which is a game that I want to talk about a little bit more because it lends me to believe that Nintendo could ask for Super Mario RPG, because guess what they did for Live Alive? They actually asked Square Enix to bring that one back, and there was a publishing deal and exclusivity deal for a bit before it came over to PlayStation and everything. But I think that that is something that Square Enix and Nintendo probably talk about all the time and look at. What certain games can we bring back? What can we make a sequel to? What can we do to bring this back for the fans out there? Live Alive was one of them. And if you look at the sales numbers over the years of Bravely Default 2, Octopath Traveler 1, 2, Triangle Strategy, all million plus sellers. Live Alive well over 500,000 units, probably nearing 1 million on the Switch by itself. I think that Square Enix and Nintendo know that people would flip out over a Super Mario RPG 2 that could get them a lot of money in addition to a lot of hype and bringing love back to that particular sub-franchise of Mario. So I do think that there's still a lot of ideas that are on the table from the first game, in addition to new ideas that could be pushed further. There were some nice updates to Super Mario RPG Remake on the Nintendo Switch 1. I love the fact that you can swap in and out different characters. They added in new super moves. They got the original soundtrack plus the new soundtrack. There was a lot of stuff that they did in the game to really just make it a bit better quality of life wise, but then also little things here and there overall with the collections and stuff. So to me, there's still stuff that they can go back and say, okay, this is unique to Super Mario RPG. It's not in Paper Mario, it's not in any of the other games, and let's kind of take it a step further or two, but utilizing the Nintendo Switch 2 this time around. I think that would be incredible, and that'd be something, once again, that a lot of fans would be hyped and excited to return to. Now, this is one of the bigger points here that maybe some people will point out, a lot of fans when it comes to the cult fans of this character, but Square Enix and Nintendo want to bring back Geno. And dare I say, Geno could be in the new Super Smash Bros. Game, a character that people have long wanted to be in there overall, but maybe there's some licensing issues or relevancy issues overall. But I know that Square Enix and Nintendo want to bring back this character. There is potential for Geno to be somewhat of a thing. It was a doll that was brought to life in a very interesting and weird type of way, and I think that Square Enix and Nintendo could want to do something with that character, especially with the amount of love Geno received in the Super Mario RPG remake on Nintendo Switch. So I just think that Square Enix and Nintendo would like to bring that back. So there's a number of different things here. And if you're looking at overall the scope and scale of what we've seen so far with the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo is definitely doing a lot of collaborations and has more collaborations on the table between them and their partners. Stuff like Pokopia, for example, they're bringing in the Dragon Quest Builders developers who Square Enix worked with in order to bring that game over. They're doing that. How about Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment with Koei Tecmo? There are a number of developers that have been helping out and that have been aiding over the years that they've been building with. I think that Square Enix is one of those key developers that we've seen once again with multiple different games that were marketed for the Nintendo audience. This is something that we can see going forward that I think that would be pretty cool overall. Now, my own personal thought with this is that I don't know when this could be a thing. I mean, I don't know if it would be in the early first half of the Nintendo Switch 2's life or something that was in the second half like we saw with Super Mario RPG Remake, but I just think that it's something that I know, just once again, intuition, that Nintendo and Square Enix probably want to do after the gauntlet of Mario RPG games was released and Super Mario RPG was by far the winner sales wise, and people just responded very well to that game. It's a very good game, it's very fun, and I think that that game has so much personality and so much style, and the writing was great, and so is Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, so is Mario and Luigi. Those are all great, but there's just something about Super Mario RPG that has just stuck with me all through these years, and I played all of the games and everything, so we'll see what happens going forward in the future. I think that Nintendo and Square Enix are probably going to surprise us with something, but what do you guys think about the potential of Super Mario RPG 2 coming back in all of its glory on the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.